Hey guys, welcome to the Up Next podcast, where we are interviewing teen entrepreneurs that are making it big time in the startup world. We are asking the questions we know you want to hear. Up Next is an app made for teens where anyone can join or build a real life startup.
Our guest today is Daria Shaked. She is originally from Israel, currently has been living in Silicon Valley, California for the last 6 years. She is the founder and CEO of We Act, which is an investment fund focused on oversubscribed women-led venture capital funds. So pretty much, working to make sure that there is a lot of women empowerment in the startup world, which is something I do not get to hear about a lot. So I'm very excited. Daria, is there anything you'd like to add?
First of all, the audience I most like talking to is, teenagers and young people, because, first of all, you're so much better than us when we were your age. You have so much more knowledge and so much more awareness, and you're aware of your rights, which is so much more than we had that age. And so I'm happy to share a little bit of a wider scope of the opportunities out there and just give you like maybe a different mindset, help you develop a different mindset, so you'll believe that everything is open for you, if it's Stanford or Harvard, or if it's Silicon Valley funding and inventions.
Very true. I think that a lot of people are looking forward to hearing your words of wisdom. I know that I am. So how did you know that your idea would work? How did this all start?
Yeah, first of all, I don't think anybody has ever known what they think of, what they believe in would work. I knew that I believe in it. I had a strong conviction that I spotted a problem. When I moved to Silicon Valley, I realized that I can see male founders talk to investors and managers from the corporate world. Everywhere you look, you hear Hebrew speaking and men trying to raise money. And I was thinking, this is the biggest opportunity out there is this place. There is money, there is brain, there is people, there is collaborative environment. And I didn't see any women, or very few women, coming over and doing exactly the same as the men were doing. And I thought, if I could mitigate that, if I could bridge that gap, if I can help them solve that, black hole, then I will make a difference. I will diversify the ecosystem. And so the first thing I wanted to do when I went on my first vacation to Israel after moving to Silicon Valley, I met a female founder who I adore, and I think she's just the bravest woman I know. And I asked her, why don't you come to Silicon Valley and try to raise money from Sequoia, from Andreessen, from the biggest VCs? And she said, there is a phrase in Hebrew, it's the beyond the mountains of darkness. It's the mehever le'arei hachoshech. I don't know how to get to Sequoia. Do you call the secretary and ask for a meeting? How do you do that? And I said, I know how to do that. Let me make sure that anybody who needs to know that, they will. And so I opened my Facebook page and I wrote, I'm going to take the first Israeli female founders delegation to Silicon Valley to give them the confidence, the knowledge, and the network to build their companies there. And that just got on fire. A lot of people called me, how can I be involved? How do I apply? If I can, there are a few people who said, I want to mentor the delegation. I will go with you. And then I started to raise money. I said, if people want to come with us, let them pay for it. And so I raised $10,000 from each company who wanted to join the delegation. I had altogether for 3 delegations, I had $150,000. The founders did not have to pay anything. I paid for the tickets, the bus, the food, the hotels, everything. And so I arranged a full week of meetings with the biggest investors, entrepreneurs, and the corporates. And at the end of that delegation, we had 1 company sold to Apple, and we had other companies raise money. I knew that if I only open a crack in the door for female founders, they will kick it open. I had no doubt that they're fearless. They will go on every stage and they will speak everywhere they could. So that's what I did. I just opened the door for them, and the magic happened. And that evolved. I built a community for everyone who did not get into the delegations. We only had 20 spots and we had 330 candidates. So I built a community on Facebook called We Act. So every opportunity we see, we can share And everyone who didn't join the delegation will be aware of if we see Sequoia and they're looking for a specific segment or a specific stage or whatnot, I would be able to share it with a wider female founders community. And so today we have almost 5,000 women on that community. We share every opportunity, whether it's media or investors or other founders looking for co-founders or whatever you want to ask, you're welcome to join and ask. And on the other side, after 3 delegations, I realized that the problem that I'm trying to solve is not going to be solved by delegations coming and helping every founder individually. It's a wider problem because the person who's writing the checks to invest in those startups are 99% of the time the same white American man who graduated from Stanford or Harvard. And that's not a bad thing. It's just too homogenic. Is that the word, homogenic?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So it's too similar. And when an investor is looking at an opportunity, they trying to feel a gut feeling of this is a good opportunity. This is something that's going to be huge. And they usually invest in their younger selves, in whatever resembles them and whatever solves a problem that they experienced. And if it's you and me, for example, we're not going to create the same gut feeling as the other man who comes from the same background. So I thought if I really want to make a difference, I have to diversify the investment industry. If there are 50% women on the investment industry and we could go and meet female venture capitalists on the other side of the table and pitch to them, the odds are that the journey to raise money would be similarly as hard for men and women, right? For Israeli and American. And that's what I was trying to do. But how do you diversify an industry that is like a dinosaur? It's been that way for 100 years. It's all white dude club. They're not letting in any women. And I was thinking, how do we create more diversity? And there are 2 ways to do that. First of all, pressure the men to bring in more women. And the other thing is to help women start their own funds. And how do they start their own funds? They need funding. So that's what I started to do. I decided to build a fund of funds. That means I raise money and I invest in venture capitalists who are women, female, and they're starting their own first fund. And I choose out of a range of thousands of women who have some experience in venture or in operation or in entrepreneurship, and they want to start investing, and you believe in their ability and the track record. And so that's what I decided to do. I decided to build a fund of funds, which is basically being a David against the Goliath. Like the industry is the biggest industry, the strongest industry in the world, and they're very much the opposite of what I'm trying to do. So I went on a journey that took about a year, and I met 450 LPs, meaning people with enough wealth to invest in a fund of funds. And I built it from a person to person. I traveled the whole continent, a little bit outside the continent, but mostly in the US, trying to meet people, and they introduced me to other people. And I got to meet the person who manages Oprah Winfrey's investment arm and Natalie Portman's. And I'm just using those names. They did not invest in me, but I'm using those names to say that I had no clue where I'm gonna, reach or where I'm headed. I was getting intros, and I didn't know who they're introducing me to. Eventually, after a year of doing that, I realized that trying to raise $100 million fund of funds is going to be very long and very hard, because I'm also an immigrant woman, not coming from Stanford or Harvard, not American, I don't check any box. And also I give them a thesis that says, give me your money, I will give you back, 2-3 times your money, because I'm going to invest in the best women in the industry. And they see things differently, and they will create a better revenue for you. And that thesis is very different from the rest of the thesis that they hear. It's usually, let's go invest in cybersecurity, let's invest in blockchain. Doesn't matter, but it's never gender basis or social basis. So instead of trying to, and I enjoyed educating the market and those people and telling them, listen, you're missing up on an opportunity. But no matter what you do, getting 450 no's is a hard thing to do. So I was thinking, I can't get through the door. How do I get through the chimney, right? And I said, if I had the $100 million, what would I invest in? And exactly the same time, it was April 19, a woman who's called the first lady of the internet. The problem is not going to get solved by me bringing on delegations to Silicon Valley. The problem is diversifying the investment industry. So I was trying to raise $100 million fund of funds. I was failing. Nobody wanted to invest, not nobody, but the majority did not want to invest. And so I found an opportunity. A very accomplished woman was leaving a very bad VC, or a very well-known VC, but bad for women. And she started her own first-time fund, the biggest fund ever created by a woman, a $1.4 billion fund. All the big names were investing in her, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, all the big names. And I knew, and she had a very high minimum check. She only let people in tens of millions of dollars, which I did not have. And so I got an intro mail from 2 different directions to her and her team, and I met them. And I told them, listen, I know you don't need my money. I know you're oversubscribed. I know you can choose your investors. But if you let me in, together we can bring more women to do the same thing, leave their own funds and start their own, leave their old funds and start their own new funds. And we will diversify the investment industry together. And I'll give access to the best funds. And so more money will go into women VCs, women-led VCs, and they loved the idea. And they say, you're welcome to invest in us in whatever size check you raise. And you have 3 weeks until we close the fund. So Godspeed. And I went back and sent email to about 50 of the 450 people. And I said, I just got an allocation from a fund, basically that you will never get an allocation in, because they have such a oversubscribed list of investors, and they only let in a very big check. And if you want to get in, I can invite you on my allocation with a 250K check, which is, nobody will get that in that fund. And so in 1 week, so I sent that to 50 people, and I have, this is my terms, this is the document, sign this and you'll be part of the fund. And in a week or 2 weeks time, I got 15 yeses, and I became an investor in Mary Mika's Bond Capital Fund 1. And since then, I made 7 other investments the same way. I found a very good fund. I decide to invest. I invite other people, have my own terms. And now I manage a little bit over $10 million in 7 funds.
Well, that is an amazing story. I think it is something that women of this industry have been waiting much too long for. And me as a woman speaking, I think it's, it's highly appreciated, and there isn't enough things that, are working towards this. And as you said, it really is a white male's game most of the time, and some of the time you feel like there's not much you can do about it, but this shows huge opportunity. We actually also had someone that was interviewed with us. Her name is Maria Grinina. She now has new classes on Udemy that are made for young entrepreneurial women, since all of the classes on Udemy she found were mostly men speaking, or very old women speaking, and it makes you feel like I could have only been in the industry if I was like doing it 60 years ago. And she is also giving, the feeling that things can change, and that I'm here with you. And I know that things seem complicated, but it is possible.
Yeah, and I would also add that today, there are more and more programs and communities and support coming from the women in tech community. We have accelerators and women to women, and so many, and funds that are focused on women founders in the US. There are many of those, and I'm happy to name if anybody is looking for them. But there are more and more awareness towards the opportunity that women have, and that's a blind spot for all the male VCs out there. So they're making an effort to bring in some diversity. And so everybody is pushing from different directions to bring more diversity and help women build their companies, and trying to level the playing field for everyone. So we are in a much better place than we were 5 years ago, and there's still a huge way to go, but we're definitely tackling the problem from so many different angles that there is no doubt we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I think also at some point, as you said, within the last 5 years, it feels like it's sort of become in fashion to have a wide range of staff or people with you, or else you seem like that person that is very straight-minded. So what advantage do you feel Gen Z teens have, and how can they use that to build their own startup? Also specifically, you know, Gen Z girl teenagers.
Yeah. So first of all, there are a bunch of projects. I'm a board member in an NGO called Young Entrepreneurs, and they teach in schools the process of building a company, pitching to investors, the whole thing. And you see an equal number of girls and boys. So, and that's, as it is much better than what we had. And everywhere I go and everywhere I look, you see the young generation is so much more confident in their right to demand equality. And just as an example, a few weeks ago, there was a young officer, a young female officer in the military, who shared a post on Facebook that she had a conversation with her soldiers about women's period. How do we feel when we have a period, and what should they expect, and how can they be allies, right? And she said, she started by asking, what is a period? And of course, the answers were ridiculous most of the time. And then she shared, how does it feel? What can they do? And I was amazed by the fact that she felt, and I was an officer in the military and I had male soldiers, but it never occurred to me that not only do I have the right to educate them about women's lives and experiences, I have an obligation to do that. She felt like she needs to be the person who stands in front of, you know, dozens of male 18-year-olds and tell them, this is how a woman feels when she's on a period, and this is what you can do to help. And, you know, I never thought about it, and my mother would probably don't think it's right. You know, it's, you know, going back generations, it's changing, and the new generation is just so much better at just creating the reality that we need to happen, to level the playing field and make sure that everybody is aware of their experience, the different experiences. We're not the same, but we're equal in the opportunities, but we need to be aware of the different experiences we all have in life.
Yeah, that's very true. Like a while back, it used to be very taboo to talk about things, especially feminine things. You never tell a man. And the fact that this day and age, you know, the generation that's currently teenagers, they feel like they have the right to express themselves and their diversity, and they are a lot less silenced. So you have been, you know, working at this for the past 6 years since you came to Silicon Valley. I'm sure that you have so many stories of success. What is one mistake that you would avoid?
I have so many more mistakes than successes. Just think about meeting 450 high net worth individuals or people who manage a lot of money, and I come to them and I say, I'm raising a fund, I'm $100 million fund of funds to invest in women-led venture capital funds. The faces you just see, it's like they're hit by a bus. It's like, we are not even aware there's a problem, and we definitely never thought we could be part of the solution. But failures, I can name, you know, every step of the way. You feel like sometimes it's just, you know, a look in somebody's eyes when you feel, I don't want to say disrespected, but
like putting you down.
Yeah, but more of, in their own minds, they don't think highly of you, and you don't even have to
say anything.
You don't even have to say anything. And it could be only, you know, a look in their eyes, and it could be the mansplaining process, like you say, this is what I do, and then they start with an hour of a lecture of what I should do and what I shouldn't do, as if I haven't been doing it for years, and maybe I have some experience. It's just assumptions that they make along the way, and there are so many. It's hard to point on one, but I can share one. Along the way, I opened a shared office space, and I said, here in Silicon Valley, and I said, I'm inviting women who may find it maybe more difficult to come to Silicon Valley and work from here. Just know that you have an office. You can use it for free on your visits to Silicon Valley. You have a community there of female entrepreneurs who can help you, connect you, tell you how to ask for things, whatever you need to know. And I told a guy who is an investor here, I told him that I have an office space. If they want to use it, sometimes they can use it. And he said, how would you feel if I opened an office space only for men? Why isn't it that discrimination? And I said, well, first of all, welcome to the world. That's how the world feels. It's not open to us. It's not locked, but it's definitely not inviting. And second of all, court ruled that you can discriminate against the majority. You can discriminate against a minority, and women in this ecosystem is a very small minority. So it's definitely legal. And thank you for being an ally. And and so every step of the way, when I took the delegations, people told me, and like the president of one of the biggest company told me, what you're doing is wrong and you're harming your cause. Because if you say women need a delegation only for women, you're saying that they're weak and they can't handle their own. And I said, no, it doesn't say that. And only men say it says that. Women look for a convenient, comfortable surrounding where they can grow and they can share experiences and then they can learn from other women who are in the same spot. And maybe they get questions that you don't get. And how would you answer? Are you going to get pregnant? And how are you going to raise a fund on on your 8 months pregnancy? And it's just a different experience. And all the bad, most of the bad comments I got were from men who are probably being insecure maybe and not feeling like they're included. But supporting women is not harming men. My husband is a bigger feminist than I am. And men are, supporting women and sponsoring women and investing in women all over the place. That doesn't mean that we don't still have a harder way to go, and we need to, first of all, be aware of it, accept it, and find ways to overcome it. And so we create all these different solutions to make sure that it's not a closed club, and women are welcomed and women are supported, and they are there to create a solution that we need. Because if they don't get funded, you and me can't use the solutions that they created for us, right?
Yeah, that is something that, the fact that men are excluded from things like this just shows that they're not really excluded from anything else. I mean, they are empowered pretty much every day, all the time. So having a place where women are empowered, it feels like, well, what about me? But, this isn't about you, because there are other people and, we're trying to address them. So I can totally agree. If there is something that I'm sure you have learned along the way, it is meeting, a bunch of different people and telling yourself, that's what I want in a person, that's not what I want in a person. So what are 3 traits that you look for in a business partner, co-founder type of person?
That's a really good question. So usually when you look for a business partner, you're looking for 2 opposite things. One is to be very easy to get along with, because this is a marriage for many years, even harder than a marriage sometimes. And on the other side, you're looking for somebody who has a different set of skills, right? If you're not a tech person, you want to bring someone with some engineering background or tech experience. So you look for somebody who will complete your skill set, and you're looking for somebody you will be able to get along with. And sometimes people, when I look at a fund, to due diligence and realize choose if I want to invest in, I also look at the relationship within the fund, and I talk to other people who knows the partners and how do they get along. Because if they break up, it harms my investment, right? So sometimes you look for people who knows each other for a long time, and they've been together for a long time, even before they became partners. And sometimes you look for people who really worked hard to realize that they are aligned with their vision. So I know a founder, when he found a CTO, a co-founder, they went on an offsite for a week, just the 2 of them, 2 guys, married, And they went to an offsite together to ask all the questions that you want to know that you're aligned on. Like, how do you see a success? Is it an exit? Is it keeping the company private forever? Is it IPOing, going public? What is success to you? And then what is a good culture to you? Is it a balancing work and life? Is it very hard work through the night? How do you see spouses involved? How do you see all these? How do you see parenting? So all these questions needs to be answered and needs to be answered in advance. And so there are many aspects on how to look for a partner, but it really it's at the end of the day it's specific to the field that you're going to get into, but it's also very personal and good combination of personalities.
Yeah, having that person that also has what you, let's say you lack. You're better with numbers, they're better with words, let's say, and also the fact that there is full open honesty, just, you know, having each other's opinions and knowing not to take anything personal most of the time. And like you said, it's like a marriage. It can be even worse. And you want to make sure that this is a person you want to talk to all day and the day after that and the day after that.
I know a lot of psychologists work with partners, business partners, to resolve issues or to find solutions to something that is ongoing. That's also helpful.
Yeah.
Both cases.
Yeah, both cases. So which entrepreneurs inspire you the most these days and why? Who do you have your eye on?
Oh my God, there's so many amazing women out there. So I'm sure you know, I think you know, there is a woman called Einat Gez. She is the founder of Papaya Global. And she not only, I knew her from my work in a private equity fund in Africa, like 15 years ago. And then I moved to Silicon Valley and I decided to start the delegations, and she approached me and she said she would like to be on the delegation. She was right in the right timing and stage. So she was on the first delegation. And not only she is a brilliant founder and a hardworking person, she's also had a really rough background where her mother was absent since she was a child. So she had a rough childhood. She was her own person at a very young age, taking care of her little brother also. And she built this empire of, it's like simple HR services, but worldwide, where she can resolve any problem you might have with your employee in, I don't know, Uzbekistan. She has the whole package of giving every solution in HR. And she's now raised over $100 million, and she's a unicorn. She's the first Israeli female unicorn who's still living in Israel, who didn't move to Silicon Valley or New York or Europe. And she is very successful, still very grounded. She's very helpful to other founders. She's investing in other female founders. So I think she's like the ultimate female founder, badass, able to go through. And she did it while having 3 children. In the past 5 years, since my first delegation, it was 2016, October 2016, she had given birth to 3 children, while raising money and building a huge company with hundreds of employees. So I would name her, but there are plenty. If we could talk about this for a day and I would still have good examples for female founders.
There are so many, but she sounds like the perfect definition for an inspiration. I cannot see myself doing what I do with a dog, let alone with children. So
good job.
Yeah. So which trait of yours do you feel is your weakest and you need to outsource it somehow, maybe with a teammate or maybe some kind of computer program that does it for you?
Yeah, I have something that I know I'm really bad at, and I have my own solution. The thing is, I don't like managing people. I don't like it. I now hear of more people being honest and saying we don't like managing people, but the fact is I didn't like being an officer of 14 soldiers when I was 19, and I still don't like it at 42. So in my fund, I'm the only employee. I don't have a partner and I don't have employees. I use only outsourced companies to do accounting and compliance and admin and whatnot. I have 4 different companies working to do their job, or 5 even illegal. But I don't like employing people because I'm too self-conscious about asking people to do things. I want them to be their own managers. And so when you have a company you're working with, they are experts in their field and they can tell me, this is what needs to be done. This is the legal documents you need to have. And that's what I find more comfortable from my perspective. But I don't know, maybe one day there will be a job that I would really want to take upon and I would have to manage people, and then we'll have to overcome it somehow.
Well, I was also an officer in the Army, and I loved telling people what to do. I mean, it felt so empowering at that moment. But I also feel like, where I work now, actually at Up Next, I also feel like I need to know when to say yes, when to say no, and not to wait for the people above me to tell me you should do this and this. The point that I should be independent and empower myself in what I do, I think, is also a great way of leadership. So
right.
I think
people like you to work with me. That's
good.
Independent.
So let's say I am an average teenager looking to build my startup and I have $100.
Okay.
What or where or how would you tell me to use this money, if at all?
Okay. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're starting to build your company, what I tell everyone, whether you're a teenager or you're a grandmother, I would tell you to start building it and meet 100 people. And while you meet the 100 people, you tell the story, you tell what is the challenge you're trying to solve and what is the solution you're looking for and how big of a potential this solution has. And then you put it into a deck, a presentation, and you have the problem, the solution, the financial potential, and the team. Every founder has to answer all these questions. And when you meet 100 people, you get to refine every single slide and what is the real problem? How big is the problem? Why am I the right person to solve it? Where do I come from? Where did I tackle the problem? And why do I think my solution is the best solution for the problem? And then when you meet 100 people, not only do you discuss these issues with somebody with a different point of view, you also start building your own community. So one of these person you might want to recruit as an advisor. Put it on the team deck. He's an advisor. He comes from a very big company, very big background. You'll have a good name and logos on your deck. Then you find somebody who's really a good product person or a really good tech person or a really good marketing person, and you start shaping your whole storytelling. So I wouldn't do anything with your $100 but buying people coffee and meeting them and getting their point of view, and then building your deck and building your community, your supporters. And when you finish meeting the 100 people, you should be in a place where you have a full deck with a big team, and you have the next stages that you need to go and build your product, or go and raise money, or apply to an accelerator that can help you with that. So I would just use the $100 to buy coffees to interesting people who can help you build it.
Yes, I love that idea. And I love the fact that, you mentioned being a storyteller and how important that is. That is something very big that we focus on at Up Next, telling people what's special about what you're doing, because there are obviously a bunch of other people trying to do what you're doing. What are you doing differently? What makes you unique? So if you have a way to tell that story, and, the way that you tell what you did and the way that it's coming out of you so passionately, it makes other people, get excited, and they want to be a part of it.
Exactly.
So the next question, I think, is kind of obvious for you, but, I do look forward to your answer. How important do you think it is for young entrepreneurs to think about social change when creating a business?
That's a good question as well. Not only because I come from impact investing, and the whole notion of impact investing is doing good while doing well, where there is more than just one bottom line, financial bottom line, that you can also measure the impact that you make on the world. And in impact investing, it's actually the main focus. alongside financials, of course, it's not philanthropy, but you measure it. You measure how many people you changed lives, and how many did you. So this is something you actually work very hard for. In Silicon Valley, when I moved 6 years ago, the word impact, nobody uses it. No, there is no impact focus, or there was no. And today I know of a few funds that do it, or even say it. But in Silicon Valley, everything is very finance oriented. So, and you can look at companies, and even let's say Instagram or Uber, they are not considered impact companies, but if you look at from an impact point of view, this is a game changer in the future of work space, because you let people work from anytime they want, from going and picking up groceries for somebody else, or getting in their car and driving people around. And so nobody can ever be unemployed if they can work. And that's a huge impact on the world. If you get all the social, I'm not talking about, you know, social benefits or legal issues. I'm just on the concept. But it's still in Silicon Valley, nobody looked at it as an impact company. But when you look at financials, when you do it a real due diligence, you look at beneficiary owners and who is going to be involved in, and you see that this translates perfectly into a big financial opportunity. So they don't call it impact, but it definitely is an impact focused activity or product. So if I know that, as I said, generations after us or me are more aware. I know my daughters are very much aware of environmental issues and very passionate about those. So I think you were born with that. It's not something nobody needs to teach you. You were born with a passion to fix something. I would just go with your passion. If you're passionate about environment, find those solutions. If you're passionate about gaming, I hope you find gaming product that helps people come together, or fix loneliness, or, you know, all sorts of problems. And you don't have to call it impact, but if it does something good, then you have a bigger audience, you bigger beneficiary owners, you have a bigger impact, a bigger financial potential as well.
Yeah, I think that even if, you know, as you said, something like gaming, I mean, something environmental, we already see, it's very clear what the impact is. But once we have something like gaming or like a shopping website, then you need to find where you put your positive impact and your 2 cents to the big audience that's inspired by you, that likes using your platform. And why do they like using it? Because you spread positivity, because you welcome anyone, because you're sending that sort of message.
I have one example. I have a friend who was on the delegation who built a company back then it was Minecraft, but she built female characters. Back then there were never played for Minecraft, but still there were no female characters to play with. And there were many girls who played Minecraft, and they built the characters for Minecraft, and now they're building it for Roblox. So they have a theme and they can provide it to any game, right? Because we want girls when they're playing, that they will see their own selves in the game, and they enjoy it, and they see, you know, bigger opportunity than, you know, playing on behalf of somebody who's not them.
Yeah, and that seems like something so obvious. I mean, you'd think that it would have been thought of before, but here we are.
Mike did not think of that. They should have.
Okay, so last question. If you could have any superpower in the world, what would you pick?
Whew. That's hard. Any superpower. To eliminate biases. I think if people did not have any bias, you will see many more women presidents and prime ministers. You will see more women managers. You will see more products coming from female founders. But there are so many biases, by the way, to all of us, me included. So if I could eliminate biases, the world would have been in a better place, for sure, no doubt, in my mind. But the problem is that's like a survival thing. This is how you spot danger. You look what are the similarities and what are the differences, and when something is different, you're a little bit more afraid of it. Or But eliminating biases would be a great, and also influencing people. So when I met the 450 investors that said no to me, I didn't feel like I was failing my goal of raising a fund. I felt like I'm teaching them or bringing to their awareness something that is important to me. So if I could have a bigger influence on people, help them think about or choose to do things that are important and that could make a difference and can help people, that would be my second choice. Probably.
That's like the most original superpower I've heard until now. So I think that it is very important to not run away from the things that seem, different or unlike you, and to embrace the change and to learn from it. And I think that is something that you are showing, Silicon Valley and the whole startup industry, something that they should have seen a long time ago. So it was really great talking to you and learning from you. And I cannot wait to see what you guys do next.
Thank you so much. I love talking to you, and good luck to everyone. I hope to see you in Silicon Valley in a few years.